working in archaeological sites for more than 10 years. And we were in an archaeological site working for Neanderthal remains. We were looking for them for years. The archaeological site is a way to discover our past, right? It's a path to discover the past of our origins. And the Camino is a path that people tend to do to discover themselves, right? Well, in my personal experience, I've been mostly working in open-air settlements. So mostly we recover lithic tools because the acidity of the soils make the preservation of bones quite hard. But we've been working in my experience in open-air settlements related with Neanderthals. It's a period where you explore yourself and you try to understand yourself. So it's like in both cases you are digging, trying to find an answer. Well, I'm a PhD in human evolution, granted by the University of Burgos, that is highly related with Atapuerca Archaeological Sites.
Hello, Pilgrims. Thank you for being today here with the Way to Your Why podcast, a new episode that we have today. Today, we have something really, really interesting. We're going to be talking with Pedro. He's a guy, he worked also as a part of the research team on the archaeological sites in Atapuerca. So that is very close to Burgos and very close to the Camino Francés. He was telling me that was so close that their building where he's working is about 2 meters from the Camino Francés. So if you are going to the Camino Francés and you are going through Burgos, you need to take in consideration that there is a great place there to watch, to learn. And this is part of the World Heritage List from UNESCO as well. So we're going to be interviewing him and let him to talk about. Hello, Pedro. How are you doing today?
Hi. No, I'm fine.
Okay. So thank you very much for joining us today. So can you describe or talk a little bit about yourself and what you do in Atapuerca Archaeological Sites?
Well, I'm a PhD in human evolution, granted by the University of Burgos, that is highly related with Atapuerca Archaeological Sites. I'm part of its research team since 2015, more than 10 years working in there. I'm part of the guide of Atapuerca since 2018.
Okay.
So every day we are doing tours to the archaeological sites, but we do tours too to the experimental archaeological center there in Atapuerca.
Okay. And what made you to start working for archaeological sites in Atapuerca?
Well, it's hard to say a specific thing to start working in archaeology, but I've said that during my freshman year in university, I had the possibility to do practices in the lab of archaeology and anthropology. And during that year, they offered me the possibility to dig in Atapuerca, and I applied for it, and I had the luck to be one of the archaeologists working in Atapuerca in 2015. So I think that's the first thing.
And how many people work in the archaeological sites?
Well, in the file, we are around 200 persons working, not at the same time, because we work in 3 groups. Each group works 15 days, more or less. But as a whole, we are more than 200. That is a really big number for an excavation.
Wow. And then, so what you have discovered there?
Well, in my personal experience, I've been mostly working in open-air settlements. So mostly we recover lithic tools because the acidity of the soils make the preservation of bones quite hard. But we've been working in my experience in open air settlements related with Neanderthals. So we've been working on their camps.
Yeah. I just know about that what I saw at the school when I was a kid, nothing else.
Well, maybe today we can learn a bit more about them if you want.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. So can you tell us a little bit what a person who is going to one of the tours there are going to see when they go there to Atapuerca?
Well, when we go to the archaeological sites, we go to the old trends made in the beginning of, at the end of the 19th century. There was a British train company that wanted to connect the Mandas mountain range, that is the natural border between Burgos and La Rioja, and Burgos downtown. And to connect these 2 points, they decided to cut through the mountain. There, in these trends, we have the actual sites. So during the tours, we go to these old train trends to see 3 of the sites where we keep working, because we see 3 sites, but we are working in 11 sites at the same time.
Wow. How big is those sites that people can see?
Well,
the extension.
It's quite hard to say because the trend is around 800 meters. And in that trend, we have 3 sites, Cima Elefante, Galería, and Grandolina. But we have other sites around the trend. In an area of 10 kilometers from the trend, we have almost 200 open air settlements. So it's impossible to say the expansion on a number for the sites, because we can say square kilometers.
Wow. So how many people go in every tour approximately? How many people go in a tour?
The maximum for each tour is 55 persons per group. But it depends in each tour. There are tours that goes with 10 persons, others with 20 to 30. It depends on the day, because it's not the same a day that is warm, sunny, than a really winter day that we have here in Burgos that is cold, that is humid. So it depends if you come in winter, in spring, or summer.
So are you open to the public year-round?
Yeah, except for January, because the weather conditions in January do not allow us to make the tours properly. So, yeah.
Okay, and how much costs the tour if someone wants to go there? How much have to pay?
For the archaeological site, is actually €8. So it's a ticket that is quite affordable. It's a 2 hours tour with a guide. So, in my opinion, in the having traveled a lot, €8 is quite nice for a tour, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what made the archaeological site of Atapuerca to be included on the UNESCO World Heritage List? Do you know anything about that process that happened?
Well, it's the importance of the archaeological site. We are talking about a place that allows us to track the presence of humans in the European continent from the present era up to 1.5 million years. That means that we have 1.5 million years inhabitant sequence in just one place. that's incredible, and it's what make Atapuerca so interesting.
Okay. And then when have you seen pilgrims that go into the Camino that go to those tours?
Yes, actually, there are plenty of pilgrims that comes to Atapuerca to visit the sites. And during
Okay.
the summer season, we can say that it starts in May. There is even a slot in the tours that is made for pilgrims. We need to
Okay.
reach the site by car because it's not in the town. There is
Okay.
a bus that goes through the villages and with the albergues, picking the pilgrims that are interested in attending the visit to Atapuerca. So yeah, we have plenty of them each year.
Okay. And what is the time that usually those pilgrims go to the tour?
Between May and July is at 7 o'clock. No, at 5 o'clock. It lasts till 7 o'clock.
Okay.
So for some of them, it's a bit late because it's the dinner time, right? Because pilgrims tend to go early to sleep. But during August, the visit is at 7 o'clock, and it lasts till 9 o'clock. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then would you recommend to pilgrims that wanted to explore Atapuerca to stay an extra day there before continuing their Camino?
Absolutely, yes. Because we are in the middle of the Camino, many pilgrims stops just to see what is there. They don't know if that's Atapuerca. They see a really big building, they access, and they ask for information. And some are going through the village of Atapuerca. But when we explain them that we have there the archaeological sites, some of them decide to stay or to do a night in the village to be able to see the sites and then continue the next day.
Okay, so you know, pilgrim, that it's important to make a stop there for at least 2 nights. That way you have a chance to visit those historical sites where you're going to learn a lot. Maybe Pedro is going to be one of the guys
Yeah,
when you go
it
there.
could be.
Okay, and then so what similarities for what you know about the pilgrim that you have been talking to? You know, the Camino de Santiago is a pilgrimage where pilgrims are walking for long period of days, and that's challenge. There are a lot of challenges for going to the Camino, and people prepare mentally and physically, but it's very rewarding as well. Now, talking about Atapuerca, what similarities and the archaeological sites? What similarities would you can explain to us about the Camino and the archaeological site of Atapuerca?
Well, it's quite hard to connect directly these two things, right? But the archaeological site is a way to discover our past, right? It's a path to discover the past of our origins. And the Camino is a path that people tend to do to discover themselves, right? It's a time, it's a period where you explore yourself and you try to understand yourself. So it's like in both cases you are digging, trying to find an answer.
Yeah, that's a perfect answer. And then, what is the things that you like more about what you do every day?
Well, it's for me the possibility to bring the scientific knowledge to the general public. I mean, many people tend to avoid these kind of places because they have no really interest, because they believe that they are not able to understand what we have in an archaeological site. But being able to bring that knowledge to the general public and seeing them so grateful after hearing you explaining those sites is something that is amazing for me. So each day it is worthy to explain the sites.
That's really good. Then talking about the excavation, how's that process on a daily basis?
Well, we work only in the morning in the site. We have a group for each of the sites where we are working. It depends. We can be 10 or we can be 20 in each site. Each person have a site assigned. So we have a coordinator that is there at the when we begin working. Set the goals for the day. Like today, we need to finish these 10 square meters. We need to try to reach the next layer, next level. What we do is using screwdrivers and small bat sticks to get rid of the sediments and access the archaeological remains, because people tend to believe that we work with really, really small brushes, trying to be delicate. But to be honest, using brushes is a work that is never ending. So that is why we use screwdrivers to unearth all the remains. But that's in the mornings, in the sun. But in the afternoons, we wash all those remains. We name them. We have a database. We made let's say superficial study of the remains, because after the work in the sites, we need to do the research in the labs. So it's something that we do for a few days in the year, but it's a work that is valuable for the whole year.
You mentioned that you do per day about 10 square meters. So that is a surface very, very, very well. It is small for living space, but for doing the work that you're doing, probably it's a huge site. And then because you also do with a screwdriver. How long does it take usually to go to, when you start working into that, to go to the next layer?
There is no certain period of time to reach the next layer, because it depends on the materials that you uncover. It's not the same 10 square meters with just 3 bones than 10 square meters with 1,000 bones. You need to work carefully. So, for example, in some sites, we've been working in just one layer more than 20 years. And in other sites, we've been working 5 years, and we have finished the site. So it depends on the infill of the archaeological site.
Okay. And do you have any idea how many bones have been found there?
It's impossible to say a number, because there are so many bones, so many sites, that it's impossible to assess. But I'll say that for sure, millions on them.
Okay, and those bones, of course, has been humans and also has been animals. Bones,
we have bones belongs to animals and humans. Yeah.
Okay, and how you can, because you're an expert, what's the easiest way to identify that the bone belongs to a human or
there
to
is
an
no
animal?
easy way to do it, because we do not recover the bones as a whole. The bones are broken. We have really small shafts, and when you have the shaft, the first problem you need to face is to know which bone you have in front of you. Then bear in mind the size of the bone. You can go to an anatomic reference collection to compare that bone with plenty of them, to try to assess the genus, and if you are lucky enough, the species. But let's be honest, if you are used to work with them, it's easier, because you'll see that this is a femur, and you'll say, okay, that can be a human, or that can be a deer. So you have something to start. But there is no easy way to assess it is a human or a...
Okay, then let's start talking about AI. Do you think that the AI is going to help on the archaeology side or no?
I think it's helpful, but we need to be really careful because, of course, we need to teach that AI to work with us, but there are some studies that must be carried by humankind. I mean, for example, I think that AI could be really useful for refits. As we have the bones or the liquid tools broken, if you have a 3D model of your tool and you have AI, maybe it's easier to compare these remains to know which one goes with the other, if it's possible. So in that case, I think that AI could be helpful for us, but we are not really afraid of AI replacing us in archaeology. I cross my fingers.
Oh, well, yes. That's going to be super, super difficult because this is a super detailed work. And then what the AI may do is help. But I don't say that in general. For me, I'm a fan of AI. And AI is not going to replace anyone. If you prepare, you're going to be using that. I see this like when the internet came as new. So a lot of challenges happened at that time, 30, 40 years ago. And now this is like the next thing
It's
that is
the same with robots or machines that they have been saying for decades that they were about to replace us. But here we are.
Yes. And then part of what you're excavating there at the archaeological site, I imagine that those go to the Museum, the Evolution Human Museum. Is that correct?
All the remains under the Castilla and Leon law must be stored in the museum, in Burgos Museum, but nowadays there is a concession to the Human Evolution Museum to store the remains there. And not only to store the remains there, to display them to the general public. Something that do not usually happen.
Okay.
There we have the original ones.
Wow, that's super interesting. And do you know how long take the tour in the museum? How much time do the person need to go
because
to the museum?
I'm a bit of a freak of archaeology and prehistory, I recommend, let's say, 2 hours. 2 hours of your time. But
2 hours.
If you ask me privately, I will say that I'll spend 4 or 5 hours in the museum because it happened to me.
Okay. So, well, I was asking because to see how much time does the pilgrim have to book to be there. So probably 2 hours for the archaeological site and 2 hours more for the museum. You think that 4 hours is going to be enough?
The museum of the archaeological site are, let's say, a bit far from the other. People tend to see the archaeological sites in the afternoon. For example, spend the night in Atapuerca and then walk to Burgos. That is the next stop in the Camino. But that means that you spend, let's say, 1 day because you have one afternoon, the night, and the morning. But if we count the hours, we can say 2 hours is enough.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. And then talking about your research that you have happened. So something that you remind that you say, wow, this is what the best thing that I can remember of all my work I have done. Do you have any moment like that?
I have some of that because, as I said, I've been working in archaeological sites for more than 10 years. And we were in an archaeological site working for Neanderthal remains. We were looking for them for years. We had their tools, the bones of the animals they ate. We have even bonfires, but we have no traces of the humans, Neanderthals there. But there was a day where a colleague of mine was digging and saw a small stone, and she said, "That stone breaks a lot. It's quite shiny." it's a bit weird. And we were looking to the stone, and we saw that it wasn't a stone. It was a premolar that belonged to Neanderthal. So it was like, finally, we've been here for years, and now we have what we've been working. So now we can confirm that we've been working in a Neanderthal site. So I think that that could be the most impressive experience in my archaeological experience.
How long ago
It was
that?
in
How long ago?
2019, so 6 years ago.
Okay.
And since then, nothing have surpassed it.
Wow! But that's an experience, and this is
talking
about a molar. That's very small,
and
so
it's even
really hard
smaller
to find something like
because it was a child, a molar. So it's a really tiny piece in the site.
Okay, and do you know how old was
I
that
think
molar that you find?
is 19 years old, but I'm not completely sure because we still doing research on it.
Okay, and at that time, what the studies say, how long does a person live at that time? Do
We
you
have
those
no
studies?
studies related to life expectancy, right? Because it's quite difficult to assess. Because we have those failures in life, those who have a disease, those who died earlier. So elders are not usually part of the archaeological record. So without elders, we can assess the life expectancy of those hominins from the past. But for sure, we can say that this myth of 15 years old in prehistory is 30 years old in the present era. 30 years old in prehistory is 80 years old in the present era. Because 15 years then was 15 years now, and the same with other ages. But we have recovered really young individuals, and we have individuals that even reach almost 60 years. So it's a life expectancy similar to ours.
Okay, and how many years ago that bone belongs to what era? How many years
ago? How do
we
we assess the chronology of the bones?
That's particular molar that you mentioned.
46,000. Yeah.
Years ago, wow.
And it seems that it looks like I'm talking about seconds, but we are talking about thousands of years.
Well, so we have been learning so much today. So I believe that it's worth it to go to those sites once you go to the Camino Frances and expect to be some time there, because you are gonna enjoy so much. I'm gonna be learning so much. We're learning a little bit here in 30 minutes conversation. Imagine how much you can learn just not talking, also seeing what you're gonna be seeing around you. Okay. Then the other thing for students, that I'm pretty sure that a lot of students go to the area as well. You see just a high school, or also you see students from universities that go there?
Primary students, we have high schoolers, and we have university students. We have students from all the stages. But mostly we have high schoolers and university ones.
Okay. And then talking about the pilgrims, you remember any pilgrims that have been there, that have been asking something that you can't recall right now?
Well,
Anything in particular?
Something that not only pilgrims ask, that other visitors do too, is how they were able to survive if nowadays we have so many facilities that they hadn't. Right now, we are used to have a shop to eat, to buy the meat, the vegetables. We have a house. And doing the pilgrimage, for example, in the Camino, people tend to see how to be a nomad is, because you don't have those facilities that easy. Because going to really small villages that happens in the Camino, maybe you have nothing. Maybe there is a village where when you don't have a store. So they always ask, if we are having problems now with this, what they did during the history.
Wow, that's very interesting. Okay. Well, so thank you very much for all the information. But before going say bye, so any recommendation that you will
I'll
give
say that
to
you
pilgrims?
must stop in Atapuerca, not only in Atapuerca, in Burgos too. It's a place that is amazing. Maybe it's because I'm born and raised here in Burgos, but we are not used to have archaeological sites open to the public. This is a lack that we need to take advantage of. Many archaeological sites are closed only for research purposes, but here we're able to go to the actual sites and see the actual remains that we are recovering. So if you have the chance, make a stop there, because you never know if you'll go by through Atapuerca ever again in your life.
Yeah, that's going to be a great experience. And definitely, pilgrims, when you go to the Camino Frances, take 2 days to be there in Burgos and visit the Atapuerca Archaeological Site and the museum as well. Well, thank you, Pedro, for today's interview and all the information that you provide to us. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be very helpful for pilgrims to decide when going to the Camino Frances what to do in Burgos. And for you pilgrims, please keep watching our videos and please keep adding comments on the comment sections, and buen camino to everyone.